Today we're going to be doing a walkthrough of Avenged Sevenfold's first album, Sounding the Seventh Trumpet. And the reason we're doing this is because of IDMB 1966 thought it would be a good idea to see a breakdown of all their albums, and here we are. And if you saw my last video of me analyzing Matt's vocals on Diamonds in the Rough, it's going to be essentially the same concept. And in case you're new here, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Here's 1 out of 13. The first one is to End The Rapture. And for Avenged Sevenfold's first album, Matt did a great job singing. Besides being flat or slightly sharp, I mean, that's expected for anyone's first album. The fact of the matter is, for a first album, his performance is phenomenal. Let's take a listen to this part. It's a pretty high harmony, it has great control, and I'm just gonna ignore that it was flat because, you know, their first album, love it. And vocals aside, I think this is a pretty nice introduction to the album as well too. It has some great chemistry, also has some great guitar work. It's quick, you have some tasty guitar and have an idea what to expect. And when you listen to the vocals, you know, this guy knows what he's doing. But little did the fans know, the screaming hasn't arrived yet. Which leads into song number 2, Turn the Other Way. Right off the bat, here we go. That was a tasty layered scream, and then we kick off the first verse with more screaming. But we also cannot ignore the rev. Again, their first album, he's already doing some incredible stuff from a drumming perspective. However, even though it's their first album, the rev still had a number of drumming years under his belt. I like the screaming parts, but I also like searching for the pockets where Matt's singing. And here's one. And one thing I like about this album, and pretty much all of Avenged Sevenfold albums, is that the drums and the production sound pretty raw. It doesn't sound over-processed, doesn't sound over-saturated and overproduced, and you really get a true feel of that rawness from every single member in the band because of that. The next one, Darkness Surrounding, and right off the bat, all I have to say is that I would not want to be in the mosh pit when they played this song. And I think this song sets the stage in regards to vocal harmonies, because as you know, in subsequent albums, Matt has implemented this style. And that's one thing I love about the singing in Avenged Sevenfold, is how the harmonies, the singing blends so well with the screaming. This section in particular, that scream sounds like it would hurt, although I really like this section. Again, very raw, lightly mixed, lightly compressed, not tuned. It's fantastic. But I also like this section and how he combines the screaming and the singing. Overall, this is one of my favorite songs because it has that punkness to it, but it's also very subtle. The art of subconscious illusion. If there's a song in this album that really sounds like Bad Religion, this one's it. And the song also goes pretty hard. One point in this song, I don't know if it's Matt or who it is, but it doesn't sound like him. I haven't checked the credits. It could be someone else doing those parts. If you know who it is, just put them in the comments below. But all in all, pretty hard song. And then next, We Come Out at Night. I really like this section. And again, it can't be Avenged Sevenfold unless they go hard. Honestly, for their first album, this freaking rocks. And this last part where it's just acoustic vocals and I think cello? And then the whole band comes in. Great song, and I love that guitar riff in that section. But we can't ignore the piano and vocals. So good. Lips of Deceit. This is just balls to the wall hard. This guitar section is so early 2000s. Sinister Gates, or Brian, his compositions are just genius. Warmness On The Soul is another favorite of mine on this album. And the way he starts to unwrap his range. Such a soulful song to put in the middle of this album. And then Sin coming in with a very tasteful solo. And it's not over the top, and that's one thing I love about certain guitarists, is that they know when to hold back and they know when to push the envelope. Some nice harmonies with some great range. Overall, fantastic song. I'm really happy that they put something of this caliber on the album. So up next, an epic of time wasted. Sin and Zaki always pumping out those tasteful riffs, and this section is just so good. The only thing is that section could have dragged on for another 30 seconds and I would have loved it. I'm pretty sure all of you would too. Something great. I want that to be my ringtone. Overall, obviously this is another banger. Breaking Their Hold. This is a quick one and it's hard. And where's the hardest point in this song? Right here. And just like that, the song's done. Forgotten Faces. Forget this face. Obviously, this is another pretty hardcore song. I like those layered screams. And this part just rips. I don't know about you guys, but I love going back and listening to these older albums because everything today is so overproduced. And to hear that rawness, you really get a sense of how talented these guys are even at such an early age. So Matt's singing in this section. I feel like his voice here and then Waking the Fallen is pretty identical, but when City of Evil comes out, that's when it all changes. And it's such a huge leap. He must have put in countless hours to get where he was on that album. Another pretty tasteful part. Love it. Okay, what's the next one? Thick and Thin. Do I dare go there? I'll leave it to Michael Scott. Obviously, they were heavily influenced into punk because... And the thing I love about this song, and actually this part in particular, is that instead of screaming, he sings. That's a nice change. And the Rev coming in with this killer fill. Oh, so good. And this chorus is just so badass. It's rockin'. No. Streets, the second last one on this album. Again, another song that I feel like has a lot of Bad Religion influence. I'm not too sure how many of you know Bad Religion or are fans of Bad Religion, but I was a big fan of them growing up, and this has a lot of Bad Religion vibes. And forget about this song in particular, but a lot of songs on this album has that Bad Religion influence. No screaming on this track, and that's okay. Not every single song needs to have screaming. And just to regurgitate what I was mentioning earlier, but these guys know when to put certain flavors and certain spices in the songs. Screaming wasn't one of them, and that's totally fine. However, this is another song that I would not want to be in the mosh pit for unless I had full hockey equipment on. So we reached the end, Shattered by Broken Dreams. This song has a great vibe, and I love the way the acoustic sounds. But again, it wouldn't be Avenged Sevenfold unless they were gonna go hard. Very nice, bringing in a bunch of flavors on this last track. I feel like this song should be called The Wild Ride because it does take you for a ride. That's it, folks. We just unpacked Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, Avenged Sevenfold's first album. And I said it and I'll say it again, this album was a banger. Stay tuned for future videos because I am going to be going through the rest of their albums. And like always, my friends, thanks so much for your support. Really appreciate you subscribing, watching this video. And if you haven't, subscribe, like the video, join the party, and we're going to have some fun. Love ya.